Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Forgotten Outdoors podcast. Excited to be here tonight. Excited for the things we're talking about. We're going to go into what we just had a meeting before this. We were planning out our hunting season coming up. Some of the things that we're going to try to accomplish this year. Some of the changes that we are going to enforce that we didn't last year. One of the biggest things, I guess, directional wise, that we're going to try for this next hunting season is we're going to try to block out designated times hunting trips instead of this let's go on a weekend here, let's go on a weekend there. That's kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah, so last year me and Ben, we kind of had we basically what we did is anytime we got a free moment, whether that be a half day on a Saturday or a full day on a Saturday, whatever it was basically us just trying to negotiate times with our wives to try to get out and go hunt. And what made that hard, and kind of what I think we realized more, is that for us, that's just relying on being right place, right time. It's just kind of luck. Yeah. Because we really didn't dedicate full weekends. It was usually just a day or a half day where we would sneak out and see what we could see. And so, yeah, this year we kind of met with our spouses, made some plans, and we kind of figured the best plan of action is just to plan a couple trips that are going to be 3 or 4 days, and then we hunt hard for those days, and then beyond that, it will be just kind of like, oh, if we don't have anything going on this Saturday, then maybe I'll sneak out. But for the most part, yeah, we're just going to stick to those trips.
Yeah, and it was hard last year because we would get close and we'd start getting into elk, and then the weekend would be over and we'd go home. You know, like right when things started to kind of pick up, it was over. So we're trying to avoid that this year. Also, that negotiation with our spouses was hard, trying to balance that with work. Feeling guilty when we were slipping away, you know, leaving the wives with all the kids was kind of tricky last year. So, yeah, we planned out some trips for this upcoming year. The first one is we're doing a big bear hunt, a spring bear hunt, where in April we blocked out 4 days. I mean, we'll head out the night before, so like 4.5 days. And we're just going to camp up there. We're going to hunt some bears. We have a couple different plans in mind. There's 2 units that are really close to each other. One you can bait in, the other one you can't. We're going to throw bait in the one that you can bait in with a camera and see what's going on. We're going to throw some cameras up in the unit that you can't bait in, that we do know there are bears there. We're going to kind of see what it produces, and we're going to give it a good shot this year.
And I mean, you can even see behind us, like, we both shot a black bear.
Yeah.
Neither one of them were giant by any means. Mine was smaller. I'm just going to get that out of the way before Ben does. But yeah, so we're kind of excited. We've only ever, both of us have only ever shot the one bear, and so we're kind of excited to maybe get out and give it a real chance again this year to see what we can produce that way.
Yeah, super excited for that bear hunt coming up. And yeah, the season here opens up like April 15th, and it goes through, I think it's June 15th.
Yeah, I think so.
Sometime in June. Anyway, yeah, so in April, there's going to be a lot of snow still. We're going to do like our scouting, I guess you could call it, where we're going to be setting up some cameras, a little bit of bait, see what's moving. And then in May, a little bit before Memorial Day, we're going to go out and give it our best effort. And we're doing the same thing with elk this year, where we're not going to try to do these weekends here, weekends there. We've blocked out the same kind of amount of time. We're going to leave on a Wednesday night and come back Sunday night and just give it our best effort in the peak time where we were seeing elk moving around and bugling last year. Kind of that middle of September, later part of September is when we're going to go out and try to get something done.
Yeah, and I think part of the motivation for us doing that this year, obviously last year we didn't have the success we wanted, but also the motivation is we just, if you can get into some deeper country, there's going to be less people hunting it. And so by blocking out the multiple days, we don't have to just go to the easy access spots that everyone goes to. We can, spend a day here just hiking deep, see what we see, and then maybe it gives us a good starting point for the next day. So I think that's kind of our motivations. We want to be able to do a deeper backcountry hunt and hopefully get to some territory that not as many people are touching.
Yeah, and a tactic that we're going to kind of be using is that nomadic type of hunting where we hike in, we get into some animals, and it gets dark, and we set up camp there. Yeah. And we sleep on the top of the ridge where we heard elk bugling, that night before is going to be our approach, and just get into some really deep country. Super excited for this upcoming hunting season. We talked about possibly doing it for a late deer hunt as well. Thomas usually goes with his family. That might be what's happening. We'll just kind of play that one by ear.
Yeah, the deer will kind of be come as it goes, as it shows up, then we'll make plans. I guess we just want to put in a little plug now about regs. That's one thing that we've spent some time kind of figuring out is studying the Idaho regulations on the seasons and what type of hunts are going on. And obviously those dates and those types of hunts are going to change depending on what state you're in. So these pamphlets are free at basically any outdoor store that you regularly shop at.
Yeah.
We would I guess, as always, we encourage to stay legal and pick them up at the store, or you can go online and find them there.
Yeah, online, these are just a couple of the books. They have 4 or 5 of them for big game, birds, fishing. Leave them on your toilet. It's good bathroom reading.
Yeah.
Just keep up on what's going on. So, just, I guess, talking in general about planning upcoming seasons. We're going to try to block off more time. We're going to get into some deeper country, hopefully have a little bit more success this year with that approach. But there's also, if you guys aren't familiar with how the tag systems are set up, there's over-the-counter tags, which is what we're going to get. It's just you can just go and buy them. And then there's controlled tags as well, where in Idaho there's a draw system. You pay a certain amount of money for a tag, and they're only giving out a certain amount. And so it's kind of a draw your name out of a hat type of thing. And it's for certain areas at a certain time of year. Usually they're a little bit better hunts, but we have really high hopes for this year. We have some plans in place, so we're just going to go ahead and go with our over-the-counter tags, but this is the time of year where a lot of people are planning those controlled tags, where they're looking at what hunt would I really love to do, and there's certain deadlines in the springtime. There's like right now, I think what's going on as far as that is you can put in for some certain spring bear hunts. Ours is an over-the-counter tag, so we don't have to worry about that. But something to be knowledgeable about is when those deadlines are. You don't want to miss it and miss your shot of putting in for something like moose. I put in for moose a lot of the time. Haven't drawn it, but that is going to be something that you're going to put in for in these spring months.
Well, and even my elk hunt was a draw tag.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that one was kind of cool because that one was there was only 75 tags for that unit at that time. And so that one, when I drew it, that's why I spent so much time hunting it, is because I knew chances of getting that tag again were pretty slim. And so that's something that I guess is cool about the draw tags, is if you know that you really want to hunt a specific animal at a specific time, then it gives you that option. And then if you draw it, then you just got to work for it. But yeah, those ones are fun. And yeah, if you're wanting to get in on them, now's a good time.
Yeah, and there's certain animals that it's required to do that. There are animals in Idaho that there aren't over-the-counter tags. Moose being one of them, bighorn sheep, mountain goat, those type of animals you have to put in for. You can't buy an over-the-counter tag, and they're a once in a lifetime. They're called the lifetime hunts, where once you harvest one of those animals, that's it for you. That's fun. There's controlled hunts for deer and elk and antelope, and then there's the over-the-counter. But we're going over-the-counter route this year, and we are so excited. After last year and some of the frustration and all the trail cam pictures that we had of really, really big elk that we couldn't hunt because it was in a different area. So we're really excited. Yeah,
we've corrected that.
Yeah, hopefully.
So I guess we also wanted to kind of get into, as we talk about with our business Forgotten Outdoors, we want to build confidence in the outdoors. So A question that we got this week was, how do I get into hunting? Which is a question I'm sure a lot of people who hunt get from friends and family that maybe don't hunt. And so we kind of wanted to address that a little bit on today's episode, talking about, if you're brand new to hunting, obviously we're covering some of the basics right now, just talking about tags, talking about the type of hunts that are available, things like that. But Idaho specifically, and I don't know if this is for every state, but Idaho specifically, they offer a really cool passport system where they allow someone who's never hunted before, they allow them the opportunity to come and basically have a trial year of trying to hunt without having to go through hunter's education, without having to have an actual hunting license. So we kind of wanted to just touch on that today, explain what we understand from it from Idaho Fish and Game website. That way, if there are people who are listening who have maybe thought about hunting but have never actually done it, then this is a good option for you.
Yeah, this is crazy cool. I didn't even know about this until today. we were talking about it, and Thomas is like, well, there's the passport program. You don't even have to do hunter's ed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no way. There's no way. But yeah, so we looked it up, we talked about it, and super cool program. If you're not wanting to make the commitment to go to hunter's ed and pay the fees and all of that, if you're just like, I don't know if it's going to be my cup of tea, but I'm going to give it a shot, this is the program that you're going to want to do. So yeah, Thomas has it pulled up. We'll kind of hit some of the bullet points and educate you guys about what the passport program is if you don't know about it, because it's super cool.
Yeah. So the hunting passport, I'm not going to read all the bullet points. I'll try to summarize it the best I can. But it does say it's a one-time thing. So for a first-time hunter, you have to be at least 8 years old. And there is no age limit as far as being too old to start in this program. You have to be accompanied by a licensed hunter who is 18 or older.
Yeah, they call it a mentor.
Yes, a mentor.
In this, yeah.
Yeah, so they have a mentor, and a mentor would be someone that has to be 18 or older, and they must possess a valid Idaho hunting license, and they cannot accompany more than 2 mentored hunters at one time. Yeah. So I think it's a really cool option. I didn't know about this until maybe a couple years ago. But I recently had a coworker who asked me about it, and so I brought it up to him. I was like, this is a great option because you don't have to go through hunter's education, because you might try this and hate it.
Yeah.
And then what's the point of spending all this money to do the hunter's education, to get the licenses, get the tags, everything like that? The cost on the passport is $1.75, and basically that replaces your hunter's license or hunting license. However, it does say that you need to buy the specific tags that you're after.
Yeah. And something Thomas said, first-time hunter, and that isn't just for first-time hunting in Idaho. So if you're an out-of-stater and you've gone through hunter's education, hunted before there, this doesn't apply. It is, you can be an out-of-stater, but you can't have hunted before. This is literally your first time hunting, haven't done any education programs, and that's who this applies to be a mentored hunter. Yeah,
and it does touches on that just by pointing out, if you've ever held a hunting license, doesn't matter which state, then this won't work for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a really cool option. If you're wanting to look into it a little bit more, you can just Google search hunting passport Idaho, and then it will pull up one of the first options should be for idahofishandgame.com. Or I guess .gov.
Yeah, and I think another cool way to look at this for some of our other listeners who are hunters, who have hunting licenses, might have hunted for a long time, this is a cool opportunity, too, to get some of your friends out hunting with you. I know a lot of friends that we have that move away somewhere, they're still into hunting, but they don't have any hunting buddies. Yeah. And they're like, I just want to find somebody to go with. They might have coworkers or friends or family, and it might be hard to convince them to go through a course and have them go through the hunter's education and pay the fees to do all of that. This is an awesome opportunity to be like, hey, just get your hunting passport. Just try it out with me. Tag along this year. It's $1.75.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have to go to any classes, and they might fall in love with it, and you might have a lifelong hunting buddy.
Yeah.
In the area that you're at.
Or if you have kids 8 years old or older.
Yeah.
If if you're wanting to kind of test the water on if they're going to be into hunting with you, then this is also a really cool option to get your young kids out and get them trying something new and, and building their confidence in hunting. And this is a great way to start it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And moving past that, I guess the next step that a lot of people probably just jump into, or if you did this 1 year and you want to continue, it's take hunter's ed. Yeah, hunter's education is required in every state, I believe, that I know of.
It should be.
It should be. Yeah, I think that it is. And there's a lot of really good information. It's kind of a pain sometimes. I went through hunter's education in my older years. I wasn't, a 10-year-old kid, and so it was embarrassing for me to go through hunter's education with a bunch of little kids. But there is a lot of good information there, and the instructors there are very knowledgeable and will be able to answer a lot of the questions that you're going to have. Not just about hunting tactics per se, but about the legalities of it. Where do I get tags? When can I go and buy my tags? Questions like that might seem obvious to people who have done it a time or two, but yeah, if you're getting into it, hunter's education, it's one required unless you're doing the passport program, but it is also very, very informative, very educational, and it helps give you the knowledge to be successful and legal in your hunting endeavors.
Yeah. So, and the cool thing is, like what Ben mentioned, is he took an actual physical class with young kids, but I think, and I don't know if this is forever, but for sure with COVID going on, I think that they now offer it online, online. And so I think that you can do your hunter's education all online. You don't even have to go to a class with a bunch of 10-year-olds. I do believe that there is like a field day where you need to go and prove that you have knowledge of gun safety, how to handle a gun, how to shoot a gun. But I think other than that, it's all online. So that is a really good option that is available online. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a million resources out there if you're wanting to get into hunting. If you're wanting to get into fishing, there's free fishing days. I know here in Idaho where it's kind of a similar thing where if you don't have a hunting or a fishing license, you are able to go out and tag along with somebody and go fish. I know that kids under... What is it? I don't know the age. I shouldn't dig into this, but younger kids, they don't have to have a fishing license. They can just tag along with somebody that is a license holder. So there's cool things like that. I think that the Idaho Fish and Game does a good job of trying to get people into the outdoors as well. It's not this exclusive club that people are like, oh, we don't want anyone else, in this hunter and fisher outdoorsman club. They're very generous with the knowledge. They're setting up programs like this where it's $1.75 for a passport and you don't even have to take any courses. They're wanting people to get into the outdoors more. And so it's super cool. There's programs out there. If you guys haven't gotten into hunting or fishing, don't feel excluded. Yeah, people are going to roll their eyes at you trying to get into the sport. It's not like that. That's why we're doing this podcast and our company is to help people take those first steps, because everyone's welcome and we are passionate about it. We love it. I know so many other of our friends and colleagues are passionate about this, and with that passion, we want to share that with others for sure.
Yeah, and I just looked this up. It does say to fish in Idaho, any person 14 years of age or older must have a valid fishing license. So that's it's crazy. If you've got a 13-year-old in your house, they don't even need a fishing license. They can just tag along with you and then go fishing, which is awesome, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Just thoughts are going through my head now about more than just the outdoor. Well, I don't know. This is an outdoor podcast and an outdoor company, but more than just hunting and fishing. There are so many resources. You know what? Outside of outdoors, this is where we're going. Let's see if I can string these thoughts together in my head. more than just the outdoors, anything in life really. There's so many resources nowadays to that are free, that are accessible for us to partake of and dig into. It just takes a little bit of effort on our part to seek it out.
Yeah.
Not often is something just thrown into our lap. Not often is something forced upon us and all of a sudden it becomes a hobby. Usually we have to seek these things out, but with minimal effort, there is a plethora of information out there. And so if you guys have questions about something, I know that I do this, and I know you do too, Thomas. When we have questions about something and we're like, ooh, that sounds really fun, never tried it before, we jump into it. We research it, and there's no lacking of information out there. So if you guys are having ideas about some kind of endeavor that you're trying to, I don't know, take on, especially in the outdoors, we're here to answer questions as always. But outside of this, even there's so many resources. YouTube,
Google
one.
University. And I think something that or a direction that we're taking with our podcast, we are trying to now bring on people who are interested in other things besides just hunting and fishing like we are. Because, I mean, that is our passion. Doesn't mean that's the only thing we do in the outdoors. But for us, those are kind of the main talking points. Those are the main things we're trying to build others' confidence in. But like next week, we have our first guest coming onto the podcast, and we're going to be talking about for sure mountain biking, but maybe some of the other activities that he does. And so, it's something that we're excited about. We're excited to start maybe sharing information and knowledge in other hobbies, so that it's not just hunting and fishing, but other people who might not be interested in hunting that might be interested in mountain biking can gain the confidence and the information from our podcast.
Yeah, super, super excited for next week, guys, and getting our first guest. This is something that we've been talking about since day one of our podcast, really. When we went over to Thomas's parents' house one night, and in their backyard, we were having a little bonfire, and this was when Thomas was running Forgotten Outfitters, is what it used to be called. And it was just kind of a social media presence. It wasn't an official company. And I think it was before we even talked about forming an actual company. Thomas was like, what do you think about doing a podcast?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty fun. He's like, yeah, even if it's just us telling hunting stories for posterity's sake. Yeah, that'd be super cool. And in that conversation, when we were talking about how fun it would be to do a podcast and what it would take and how we would even have the time and the resources to do a podcast, we talked about bringing guests on and how exciting that would be. Because, I don't know, I feel like we have a lot to talk about. We're long-winded sometimes, and we have a lot of experiences and passions. But bringing on these other people with such different perspectives, I'm so excited. I think it's going to round out these episodes so much more. I think we're going to get into so many deeper conversations than just the hunting information that we usually share. And we try to round it out. We try to have a variety of conversations. We try to make it not just enjoyable to listen to, but also informative. That's really what we're trying to do, is inform and help and teach. And build that confidence, like we say. But yeah, having these guests on, our guest next week to set the stage for him is one of our good friends growing up. And yeah, he's tagged along with us on one fishing trip and one hunting trip. Yeah, I think, and I'm sure we'll get into this next week. But yeah, his involvement in the outdoors is pretty different than what we do in the outdoors, with the mountain biking, and he does some snow machining as well and some other hobbies. And so I'm really excited to get his insight on the outdoors and just on life in general. I think it's going to be a really good time, and we have a list of people that we're going to be getting on here as well, talking about everything that you can think of that might not really seem like it applies to the outdoors, but we're excited to have them on because they're interesting people.
Yep. Yeah, so we're super excited, and I feel like I could just say ditto to everything that Ben said, but we are excited. We feel like this will be kind of a good point in the podcast where we're now going to branch out, and we're still going to be covering hunting topics. We're still going to be covering fishing topics. We're still going to be covering any of the questions that our listeners and viewers ask. But this will be something where we can get new perspective, even on hunting, even on fishing. Just getting somebody else who's more of an expert in a certain aspect will be really fun for the podcast. So, as always, please give us your feedback, ask us your questions. We love answering these questions on our podcast. It gives us something to research on our end, something to learn more about on our end that we can then turn around and share back with our listeners and viewers. So give us your feedback and be sure to leave comments, questions, anything.
Yeah. Again, thanks for listening, guys. We love this. We're having a super good time.
Yep.
Hope you guys are too. Hit us up with any questions or feedback. Tune in next week, guys. We are going to be dropping this episode, and then we are going to have Landon Cleverly on the episode with us, and we couldn't be more excited. So, as always, guys, stay safe out there. Have a good time, and thanks for listening.
See ya.